The Independent to challenge this slightly irritating Sunday Times rich list. The Independent produced a happiness list. And because it was a happiness list, there wasn't a league table, there was no top, there was no bottom. There were just 100 most inspirational people in this country who thought about happiness and are doing most to improve the net happiness in the UK. And in that list is our very own Chris Johnson. Give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. I'm going to start with one of the strategies that Miriam described, gratitude. And I want to thank all of you for coming. Hi. I can't see you. I'm going to wave at you. Hi. Hi. And I'm seeing lots of friends and family. My mum has come. Thank you. And and without her, I wouldn't be here in many ways. But also, I want to thank all of you. And it is fantastic. It is fantastic. Look around that this number of people are this interested in this topic to make an occasion like this happen. And we've grown year by year. So I'm delighted. And also, I just want you to do a bit of empathy. Now, empathy is when you try and feel how it would be for someone else. And I want you to feel how it would be for me if you hadn't come. Behave, come on, you. So can I do it here? See, I'm experiencing frustration, and this is how I'd feel if you hadn't come. I would be gutted, actually, if we had a complete... I mean, it would have been very nice to see Phil and Miriam and Christina and Nigel. We could have had a group, you know, a small group up here. But I would have been disappointed. And in spite of being really interested in positive psychology and doing training with Martin Seligman and lots of courses over many years, I would still be in that pit. And this is not about immunity to misery. It's normal to be miserable when things work out really disappointingly, and we will all have that. You know, some of you may have been disappointed that you didn't get to the bar or you didn't get sufficient refreshments. Was anyone frustration, but water, starvation? You know, so it happens, and what's normal is having ups and downs. That's normal, and I think of it as a form of emotional navigation. You know, that when we feel good, that's a signal that we're on course, and when we feel not so good, it's a signal that we've somehow slipped off course, and if we pay attention to that, it's really helpful, but also it's possible to get stuck. It's possible to get stuck in those low places. And that's why it's so important that we're here today. We're going to be looking at, well, how do you get out? All that Miriam was talking about, I think of as strengthening the emotional buoyancy that stops us getting really deep down. It's no guarantee, but it definitely helps keep us more afloat. But I want to also look at the idea of, I sometimes think of it as emotional mountaineering, you know, where you're climbing up out of a pit that seems so huge. And just out of interest, how many of you learnt about this at school? You know, learnt how to climb out of a pit? Did anyone do kind of psychological mountaineering? Did anyone do that? No, I didn't either, actually. And but what I did do, I had signals telling me how to deal with low mood. And it wasn't at school, but when I walked down the street, I saw billboards with adverts like this. I don't know if you can see this, everyone. This is when you're feeling flat, like these gingerbread people, if you drink Smirnoff, you get pure joy. And these are gingerbread people having pure joy. Did any of you have that kind of signal when you're young? You know, if you don't like how you feel, have this stuff and you will feel better. Now, I know I'm older than I used to be, and so I don't know whether there'll be some people here who won't remember this advert, but if I start something that goes, dum, 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 dum. Do you all want to join in with me and then it'll be familiar? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Dum, 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 do, do, dum, dum, dum. Now what happens? What's the words that come out? Now that's amazing because that was like decades ago, yet there are people who remember that more than they learnt the really important things perhaps that they had in lessons at school. You know, so this was the instruction we had about how to deal with low mood. And here is one of the this is one of the cartoons of that. Basically, happiness is a guy smoking a cigar, making a dog's dinner of it. And their whole advertising campaign was things going wrong, but if you have a cigar called Hamlet, you smile anyway. That will be really helpful with climate change and really helpful with the recession. But also, I spent 17 years in Bristol working as an addiction specialist as part of the Bristol Specialist Drug and Alcohol team and what was called the Robert Smith Unit. And gratitude, you know, I feel so much gratitude to the people I worked with, not just colleagues, but also all the clients, because they were my trainers, really. And my work was about helping people find ways other than drinking to deal with low mood. And it's such an important instruction. And so that's what we're going to be doing, really, is it was saying, well, okay, the messages that we've got given, you know, we didn't have the kind of the training that we need, but what we're going to be looking at is resilience, because I think resilience is better than Smirnoff. I think it's better than a cigar called Hamlet. And what resilience is the ability to withstand or recover from difficult situations. And I'd say it's one of those essential life skills because it's reasonably foreseeable that we will trip over and fall and fail at various times in our life. You know, it's normal, it happens. And so learning ways to climb out, and that's why I love this picture. If you look up close, some people think it's me because the person's got glasses, similar size. It's not actually, but it's a clone. But that's what we're going to be looking at is how you climb out. And I think that one of the key things with resilience is our story of resilience. And what I mean by that, the story, what's the story we tell ourselves about how people become resilient? And one story is that, you know, well, basically there are some people who've got the right DNA and they are resilient. Resilient people, yeah, it's a really resilient person. And there are other people who, that somehow when they were doing the DNA sorting, you know, they got the short straw and they were deficient of the resilient gene. And if you have that view of yourself, it doesn't help you when things go wrong. And it's a very common way of thinking about ourselves, and it's more common, unsurprisingly, in depressed people. And I think of it as static thinking. Static thinking is a way of thinking about ourselves as, I am a particular way, this is the way I was born, and it's not really changing, so I might as well get used to it. Is this familiar? Do any of you think this sometimes? Like, you know, I got the wrong genes, I can't really do much about this. And I like the idea of you don't choose all the cards you get dealt, but you do have choices about how you play them. And one way of thinking is that we're fixed and solid and unchanging. And another way of thinking, and there's evidence for this too, is that every moment has an opportunity to practice resilience. Another way of thinking is that every moment is like a frame in a movie film. And if something's not in the picture at the beginning, doesn't mean it won't be later on. And it's the small changes from frame to frame that lead to movement towards our dreams. So if you dream of becoming more resilient, there are steps that you can take to move that way.